What if the earliest sign of dementia didn't resemble dementia at all? No memory lapses, no confusion, just an odd phrase. A moment so subtle you nearly overlook it, but years later you realize it was the earliest signal that something was off. Most people don't notice it. Even doctors often miss it until it's too late, because the brain doesn't always cry for help. Sometimes it murmurs, and if you're not alert, you might miss it. This video will reveal what many families ignore until it's already too late. Before we dive in, if you care about staying sharp and protecting your mind for years to come, hit subscribe and turn on notifications now. That way, you never miss the tips that could change everything for you or someone you love. Let's stay one step ahead. Together, let's start with the first point. Why do I keep misplacing everything? For Marsha, age 70, it began with small items: her glasses, her keys, her phone. She'd set them down, accuse others, and later forget she'd even touched them. That question, why do I keep misplacing everything, lingered for 2 years before she learned she had early onset dementia. By then, she'd lost more than belongings. She was starting to doubt herself. A medical evaluation showed that repeated concerns about losing or misplacing things are among the most frequent self-reported symptoms in the preclinical phase. The hippocampus, the memory hub, starts to weaken. People not only forget where they left something, they forget moving it in the first place. That broken connection in the memory chain causes helplessness and frustration, which can turn into denial or even blame. Eventually, they stop trusting their mind, and facing that can be frightening. When this happens often enough to become a regular refrain, it's not just simple forgetfulness anymore. If you're still following these insights, type 1 in the comments and remember to click the like button. Number 2. Why is everyone speaking so quickly? Ernst, age 76, said conversations became a blur. Even though his hearing tests were all normal, he told his wife, "I can't keep up now, everyone's rushing their words." At first, no one thought much about it, yet that odd remark appeared nearly 3 years before his Alzheimer's diagnosis, and it was why he stopped attending social events entirely. Studies show that early cognitive decline can impact auditory processing speed, the brain's ability to follow spoken words as they happen, especially in noisy places. It's not a hearing issue, but a problem with understanding. The ears work fine, but the brain loses its pace, making conversation feel exhausting or confusing. Even in peaceful environments, someone might find themselves lagging mentally, sometimes needing words repeated just to fully take them in. This change can be lonely, causing people to withdraw from those around them. When a person says others are speaking too quickly or too much, the issue might not be the room, but how their mind is keeping pace. Number 3. You didn't tell me that. Grace, age 69, insisted her children never mentioned family plans, even though they had. This behavior, happening over and over, was written off as stubbornness. But in truth, she was already starting to slip. Her early Alzheimer's was confirmed just 2 years after these disputes began, and her children wished they had seen the warning signs sooner. Research suggests that people experiencing the beginnings of short-term memory loss often deflect, not out of dishonesty, but because they truly believe they were never told. This happens because the moment didn't register or stick in their memory. To them, it seems like others are mistaken. This kind of defensive confusion arises because the brain fails to form a memory trace, so the person assumes the event never happened. The emotional strain can build up, eroding trust, even in strong relationships. Repeated denials aren't just exasperation, they're signs that the brain is quietly beginning to miss fragments. Number 4. That's not what I meant. Lucille, age 74, started mixing up words. She'd say the wrong name, leave her thoughts incomplete, or ask questions that didn't quite make sense. She wasn't aware of it, and when corrected, she'd become defensive. "That's not what I said," she'd insist. It was almost 2 years before her Alzheimer's diagnosis, but her language was already starting to unravel, gradually, nearly invisibly at first. Experts state that language skills often begin to weaken early in cognitive decline. People might misuse words, lose their vocabulary, or say things they didn't mean to. The frightening thing is, They may not even notice it's happening. The brain starts producing incomplete sentences or jumbling words subconsciously. And as their self-awareness fades, they become certain they're speaking clearly. This misunderstanding often causes frustration, tension, and more withdrawal, especially with family who can't grasp why communication feels so different. When someone insists over and over that they said something else, it can signal that language and self-awareness are beginning to separate. Number 5. I think something's wrong with my brain. 4 years before her Alzheimer's diagnosis, Diane, 71, started saying this in quiet moments. It wasn't panic, but a kind of awareness. "I'm not forgetting anything," she told her daughter. "I just feel strange." Her doctor insisted she was fine, but that feeling stayed. Gradually, she became more uneasy, even if she couldn't say why. Experts share that people in the very earliest stage of decline often sense something isn't quite right. Even typical memory tests show nothing unusual. This self-awareness is called subjective cognitive decline, and studies show it can appear years before any measurable decline. It's not about missing names or getting lost. It's a subtle but growing gap between how a person feels inside and how they seem outside. That gap can last quietly for years, unnoticed by others. When someone starts mentioning this, even casually, don't ignore it. It might be the brain's first real cry for help. Number 6. I just don't feel like myself anymore. Nancy, 67, said she felt dull, like something inside her had faded. Her family thought it was depression, but nothing worked. That phrase, "I don't feel like myself," was the start of something deeper. It took more than 2 years, but her diagnosis finally came: frontotemporal dementia. The emotional shift had quietly hollowed out the person she once was. A medical study finds that shifts in personality, drive, and emotional expression can surface early in certain forms of dementia before memory loss even shows up. People may lose their spark, feel distant from their own identity, and not know how to describe it, except to say they're no longer themselves. Unlike depression, this sense of disconnect doesn't fade with time or support. It's a silent sign that the brain's emotional wiring is changing beneath the surface. The change is often invisible to others, but deeply real for the person living it. Are you finding these clinical signs useful? Type 1 if these insights help, or 0 if you need other topics covered. Your input guides what I explain next. Number 7. Stop changing things. I can't keep up. 3 years after Ronald, 75, became obsessed with routine, doctors confirmed he had mild cognitive impairment. But the earliest clue came much earlier. When he started getting upset over little changes, like a new cereal box or furniture moved around, it was strange because he'd always been easygoing, but now he'd say, "I just want things to stay the same." That inflexibility, which hadn't been there before, slowly seeped into every corner of his daily life. Research shows that people in the early phases of decline often lose cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt to changes or new routines. What once felt simple becomes aggravating. Even slight changes to familiar routines can seem overwhelming, as if the brain can't accept new patterns without feeling anxious or lost. It isn't stubbornness, it's mental overload, presenting as resistance. If someone who once welcomed change starts dreading it, pay attention. Number 8. Everyone's against me lately. Before George, 78, was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, something darker started emerging. About 2 years before his diagnosis, he began accusing neighbors of watching him, and even told his wife their daughter was hiding things. He seemed more uneasy than angry, but the suspicion kept growing, and eventually his world began to feel unfriendly and unsafe. A study found that early paranoia and suspicion can emerge before major memory loss, especially in certain forms of dementia. Suspicion starts twisting reality. People begin weaving hostility or feelings of betrayal into regular situations. It's not just fear, it's a disruption in the brain's ability to interpret social cues and motives. Even family members can start to seem like threats. These mistaken beliefs often grow more intense over time, making it tougher to help before things get worse. This type of suspicion is among the most heartbreaking symptoms for families to see. When someone suddenly thinks others are against them, it's usually more than a change in personality. You're the one who keeps messing things up. Ben, 69, wasn't always quick to anger, but something shifted. He started snapping at his wife during minor arguments, passing blame anytime something went wrong. "You told me the wrong time," he'd argue. "You're always confusing me on purpose." These reactions began nearly 3 years before his Alzheimer's diagnosis, and by then, the harm to his relationships had already set in. Studies indicate that defensiveness, irritability, and blame shifting are among the first emotional changes in dementia. As memory slips, people often feel anxiety they can't describe, so they blame those closest to them. This isn't simply a bad temper, it's a protective response. As cognitive decline advances, they feel lost and worried, but hide it behind anger, turning their fear into accusations. The lashing out acts as a shield, masking the fear they can't name. When this kind of anger becomes the norm, especially from someone who used to be easygoing, it may not be just personality, it could be fear disguised as blame. They don't always forget first. Sometimes, the first signs appear in what they say. An odd comment, an unusual question, or a sudden change in tone. These aren't simply quirks, they're early signs that something deeper is breaking down. Spot them soon and you have a chance to make a difference. Ignore them, and the silence that follows is the one thing you can't undo. Before you go, please subscribe for practical, up-to-date medical guidance on brain health. Which of these warning phrases have you noticed in your experience? Your comments and questions help us support more families, so share below. And remember, sharing this information could help someone you care about.